Hey everyone, and welcome to Kidder Clicks. I am Kidder. This is my new YouTube channel on creating games using Clickteam Fusion 2.5. Now, if you've never used Clickteam Fusion 2.5, that's okay. We're going to go through all the steps here. But the first thing you want to do is create a new application. Go ahead and rename our application to Platformer. And in the first frame, or actually, no, we'll leave it at this right now. But with platformer selected, come down to your properties tab, and let's go into the Windows properties here. Let's change the size to 1280 by 720. We can remove the heading when maximized. Yes. And then go down, we can do remove the menu bar, and we're going to keep the aspect ratio, resize display to fill windows, and okay, that should be it. Let me just double check. Oh yeah. Okay, so come here into the runtime options and check vsync, and I think we're also going to need to, let's see, anything else here? Nope, I believe that will be it. Okay, so now go into our frame, and what we're going to want to do is first actually click your frame to come into its properties, and go ahead and go into the runtime options. And what we can say here is the number of objects, turn that up. I believe 30,000 is the max. Let me put 40,000. Yeah, okay. So 30,000 is the max. Go ahead and put 30,000 so that way we can put up to 30,000 objects in our game. Obviously, we're not going to do that many. But what we want to do now is go ahead. Yeah, everything else should be good. Is double click in our frame, add an active object, and then we're going to double click in the frame again, and we're going to install the platform movement object. So if you don't have the platform movement object, just click on manager, and at the top here, just type platform, and you should see the platform movement object in the list. If it's not installed, install it. Mine's already installed, so I'm not going to do that. But once you have it installed, you can come up here and type plat, and it should come up. And I'm going to place mine just outside my frame here. So let me actually grab it again. There we go. So I'm just going to put it on the outside. Leave the default values as they are for now. And what we're going to do here is rename our active object. Let me just rename it here. Hit F2 on your keyboard with it selected to rename it. And I'm just going to call it object mask. All right. So this is going to be our player mask. For now, leave it as it is. We're not going to have to worry about it. And now let's bring in another active. And let's call this one OBJ player sprite. All right, so this is going to be what handles our images and our animations for our character. So I'm just going to import a simple, I don't need this. Let's go to a simple thing here. Let me go teaching. I have some assets which I will upload to you guys. But let me bring in my player idle and hit OK. And what I want to see here is the height and width. So I need this to be shrunken down because we don't want really blank spaces here, especially with the idle. So I'm just going to hit crop, and it should automatically change it for us. And the height and width are 96 by 96. But we don't want that exactly because there's still some blank area here. So I'm going to leave this how it is. Let me just copy this and paste it into here, and then I'm going to flip it. And make sure everything is centered. And let's do that on this one as well. Make sure it's all centered. And we'll hit OK. Now, we know that the width and the height was 66 by 66, right? So what we want to do is come into our object mask, and we're going to change it to 66 by 66, hit apply, and we can delete this, and I'm just going to paint it a gray color for now. That's fine. And then make sure it's centered. And what we can do is drag our player over to it. And let's bring our mask actually to the top, or not align and frame, but order to front. So now it's up top, and we can kind of line it up with our player here. And what we want to do is click on it singly, so you should get these little black boxes that appear, and just kind of resize it to how you like it. So I'm going to put it about right there. Let me drag this down a little bit more. Well, maybe up a little bit more. There we go. And then do the same thing with the arm, and on the feet should be fine. Yeah, feet were fine. So let me drag those back down. Okay, so now we got this. All right, so drag your player mask. Well, no, actually not the mask. We'll drag the player sprite outside of the window because it doesn't need to be in there. And we'll double click in the frame again, and this time we're going to add a backdrop. And this is just going to be our basic ground for now. Let's put it into the frame, double click on it to edit it, select it all, delete it, and I'm going to paint it that gray color again. And we know our frame width is 1280, so let's set the width to 1280. And now it should be going all the way across, and it is. And okay, so now what we need to do is with our obstacle selected, click on the runtime options. We're going to set the obstacle type to obstacle. And we can come into our event editor now. And let's create a group of events. And let's just call this one player. And with our player, we'll say at the start of the frame, we're going to set underneath our platform movement object, you're going to right click, go to set object, and select our player mask. Okay. And then what we're going to do underneath that is say always, and we're going to set the position of our player sprite relative to our player mask and hit OK. All right. And now if we hit play, there you go, they're together, but the player mask obviously fell through the screen. So to get that to fix, I'm going to create a comment here, and I'm just going to call this one collision. Okay. And what I'm going to do is underneath our platform movement object, I'm going to say collision testing, test for obstacle overlap, and then insert. We're going to say when our player mask collides with a backdrop, then underneath our platform movement object, we're going to say collisions object does overlap with an obstacle. So now if we run the game, we should collide. There we go. And you can see our feet here are showing just a little bit. So I'm going to, well, no, actually, I'll leave that how it is because that'll actually be a good effect for later. Okay, so let's add some movement. So what we're going to do is add a comment, and we're going to call it movement. And we're just going to say repeat while key is pressed. We'll do right. Then we're going to say under our platform movement object, on user input, user is holding the right input key. And we can just drag this down and double click to change it to left. And now we want to say on user input, user is holding the left input key. So if we hit run here, now we can move left and right. All right. And now what we want to do is whenever we change the right arrow key, We're going to change the direction of our character to right, or of our mask to right. And for our left, we'll do the same thing, but to the left. And with our sprite, what we can say is always direction, select direction. We're going to click the erase all directions and click on the 1+1 for the calculate direction. And we're going to say here, get current direction value. And okay. So now when we hit play, we're going right, it should stay facing right, and then we go left, it should face left. So let me go ahead and make our mask invisible. And let me hit play, and okay. Yep, that seems to be working. That's good. Okay, so now that we got that going, let's go ahead and come into our player sprite. So let me go up here, double click, and I'm going to add some animations. So we got walking. Let me open them here. We got walk 1 and import as animation. And we're going to say okay. And let's crop these. And what we'll do is copy, paste in here, flip, flip, and center everything. And let me go ahead and center these. Okay. And what else do we have? We have jumping. So let me open up the jump animation. All right, I'm going to crop it here and center it. Copy this, paste it, and flip it. And now just make sure it's centered. Yep, okay. And then falling. Let me see if I have one for falling here. Oh, we can just make it jumping again. So go ahead and just paste that one that you had. And we'll do copy, paste, and flip. Okay. So go ahead and hit OK. So now we have some animations. So what we want to do is, while the right arrow is pressed, we're going to say, or actually what we can do is we can say, if the object state is moving, then we can say animation change animation sequence to walking. So now if we move, oh, I need to loop those movements. Sorry. So come back into your movement, go to direction options, loop, and I'm going to set this to 2020. Let me see what that looks like. That looks pretty good. Okay. Do the same thing for the other side. Loop 2020. I have to keep doing that. All right. Now if we hit play and we move, it goes. But now it constantly is on that animation frame. So to stop that, well, you know what? Let's create another comment. Let's do animations. I'm going to bring this under here. Drag that down. I'll delete this one. And let me add this again, but this time we're going to negate it. And we're going to say animation change animation sequence to stopped. All right. And then we'll do one for falling. So object states, object is falling, animation change animation sequence to falling. And then we'll do jumping, object states, jumping, and then we'll do animation change animation sequence to jumping. Okay. even though we haven't set up jumping yet. There we go. We have falling, walking, you stop, stop, good. All right, that seems to be working. Now, let's add jumping really quick. So what we'll do is just under here, we'll drag it up. But under here, under new condition, we're going to say object is standing on the ground. And upon pressing a key, I'm going to say Z. Then under our platform movement object, we'll say on user input, jump. All right, so that's working. And now, while it's like this, you can hold jump and go. If you don't like that, then what you can do is push, or just switch these two to where Z is on top and the object is standing on the ground on the bottom. And now when you run it, you have to press Z every single time if you want to jump. You can't just hold it. So that's working. Let me just drag this up. All right. And let's see. Okay, so we got walking, jumping, and we got our animations. So that's all good so far. So now what we can do is let me show you a little experiment. So really quick, if I click this object, I hold Control, and I drag it out, then we create another one. And if we run into it, it kind of bugs out our character, right? That's not good. That's not what we want. So how do we fix that? Well, what we can do is create two active objects. I'm just gonna come up here and create an active and double click to go into it. And what I'm gonna do, oh, let me resize this. I'm sorry if I cut off some of the frame earlier, but I'm going to delete this, and I'm going to make it a height and a width of 5. Hit apply, and then I'm going to paint it, I don't know, we'll just do a red color, and then make sure everything's centered, and hit OK. And now what I'm going to do is right click on that object, and I'm going to clone it. So now we have two separate ones. So on active 1, I'm going to rename it to Detector1. Active 2, I'm going to rename it to Detector 2. Okay, so now what are we going to do with those? Under our always event, you know what, let me add another comment here. We're just going to call this init for initialization. And under our always, what we can do is for detector 1, let's go position, select position, and we want it to be relative to our player mask. And I'm going to bring this one to the left by 35 pixels. Okay. And then we'll do the same thing to the detector 2. So we'll say position, select position, relative to our mask. And then this time I'll do positive 35. All right. So now if we hit play, we should see those there. Yep. Okay. So now underneath our movement, we're going to say repeat while right key is pressed, and detector 2 is not overlapping a backdrop. So you select overlapping a backdrop to make it not. You right click on it and negate it. Okay. And we'll do the same thing with left. We'll say insert detector 1, because this one's to the left. We're going to say collisions overlapping a backdrop and negate it. All right. So now if we go into it, that's no longer happening. And if we had a backdrop on our left-hand side, it would be the same thing. We would hit a border there or a backdrop, and our animation would stop. Okay. So now let's go into our frame. We'll select our detectors and we'll make them invisible at start. So now when we run it, You don't see them anymore. And all right, that's working really good so far. All right, so this is going to be the end of our first video, and I will see you in the next one.